Welcome. Today we're going to have a look at a chair with a beautiful backrest design. It's the new Flexispot Appollo. We're going to see the pros and the cons, and as always this video is unsponsored. The chair has been offered to me, but no control on the content, no cross-link, no commission. Welcome, I'm Olivier Girard, ergonomist, posture therapist, author of the Posture Manual and creator of the Posture Academy. Let's first review the features of the chair. You know, it has some unique things that I haven't seen before, many of them, but one of them, the first one, is the fact that some of the controls are just under the armrests. Like here under the right side, you can bring the chair up. You see that I don't touch the floor anymore. Good. And you can bring it down. It's, say, sharp 90 degrees for me, meaning that shorter people will probably find the chair a little bit too tall, but this is something we know from Flexispot. It's more chair for taller people than for smaller people. On the left side, I can choose whether the tilt mechanism is locked or unlocked. Yeah? And that tilt mechanism has a special feature, meaning that I can synchronize the backrest with the seat pan. If I lift that button here at the back, the seat pan will now be gliding with me. Yeah? The seat pan depth is also set here, and as very often you can adjust the resistance of the tilt mechanism playing with that button. And probably at each stage you should tell me, well, what about the lumbar support? Well, this is the thing. It is an lumbar support that is mounted on a kind of elastic movement, so it moves up and down by itself. We're going to see the pros and the cons of that. Regarding the headrest, well, you see it's adjustable here, it's adjustable there, and it's adjustable here. Yeah, it's a bit of a tricky mechanism in the sense that as long as you don't push it till the end, it's stable, but if you push it all the way, then it comes back. So, you know, it's a bit the same problem as with the backrests that have a similar mechanism, is you need to be able to stop just before the last click if you want the thing to be stable, otherwise it goes with you. Yeah? But the armrest, the headrest, sorry, is fairly flexible. By the way, the armrests are also fairly flexible in height, here, front, back, and you can bring them closer or further. This isn't really a very handy function, but they qualify for the armrests. One last thing that I always forget because you don't find it on normal office chair, there's a footrest. Yeah, here, and sorry, now I can recline. So basically the chair can do everything. The specialty is this, you know, dynamic movement of the lumbar support. Now, let's take the features in the order. You know, the first chair feature is regarding the knee angle, i.e. the height. We set at the maximum height, me, 50% of the European population. I'm too high, here I'm just right. So this is a chair rather for tall people. Second floor is the seat depth. Yeah? You see at the minimum I have a bit of space, not too much, but a bit of space, and I can bring it further till too deep. You will recognize the shape of Herman Miller on the seat pan, you know, with these firm edges here, which can, if the seat is wrongly adjusted, create some pressure points. But honestly, I'm not suffering from these pressure points. There are others. Then we move to seat pan comfort. Honestly, you know me, I'm 60 kilograms. I'm comfortable on this mesh. Yeah? I don't know how someone who would be heavier would sit on it, but as far as I'm concerned, perfectly comfortable. The big discussion is regarding the lumbar support. Remember, the lumbar support is meant to hold your belt here. Here, the two bony protrusions called the sips, because these sips are the first thing that collapses when you slouch. Hence, I should adjust the lumbar support to this height. So let's adjust it. You see, I adjust it. Now, the discussion we need to have is the following: you know, Flexispot has probably observed that people don't adjust their lumbar support, so they've tried to make it simple in such a way that people adjust it without looking for any button, and that the lumbar support follows them when they recline. Okay? And indeed it slides up and down a little bit. You will observe though on that shirt, which is not mine, it's a colleague of mine sitting on the chair, that if the seat pan tilt is not active, there is the possibility that your t-shirt gets stuck in the lumbar support. That won't happen anymore when you use the seat pan slide function, at the price of a perceived kind of instability, because it moves here, it moves there, it moves a bit everywhere. Some people might be disturbed by that. But let's go back to that moving lumbar support. Easy to adjust because, yeah, okay, I just need to press it down. The problem is, as soon as you have a forward movement, for example, I have a carpet here, when I slide on the carpet, now, stack, the lumbar support moved up again. You see, I don't need to do a very big movement, already it's done. You see? So I do a micro movement and the lumbar support loses me. This is for me a big problem. So I've written to Flexispot saying, well, look, what do you think about it? And they said, yeah, it might be that indeed, after you have done your forward movement, you need to readjust the chair. Wait a sec. By definition, ergonomics is something that adjusts to the user. If I need to adapt to the chair, i.e. not move forward and think, by definition, this feature is not ergonomic. My other issue with this lumbar support is that as many mesh lumbar support, it's built on a plastic frame. And I'm quite of a skinny guy, meaning that very quickly I'll be, feeling pressure points due to that frame. So, to avoid the pressure of the plastic frame around the lumbar support, the positioning needs to be very precise. But as it's not stable, it's not very precise. Hence, I'm always bothered by these plastic things in my back, which may go hollow back and run away from the lumbar support. Even more if I recline, which is in my opinion a bit problematic because, because the chair is kind of meant to, offer some nice reclining positions. But as soon as I recline, my back is really hollow. So, I welcome a attempt to, invent something new regarding the lumbar support, but I think that this misses a bit the point. Now, there's maybe one population for whom this might be less disturbing, is the depth of the lumbar support, which is excessive for me and worsened by the presence of these pressure points. That depth is proportional to the distance between the back of your buttocks and, say, your bony areas, the sips. Yeah? Some people have buttock muscles that protrude more than others, in particular if you come from an African background. Yeah? Therefore, me as a skinny guy with little space between the back of my butt and my pelvis, I'm disturbed by this thing, which is furthermore unstable. But it could be that if the geometry of your lower back / buttocks region is different and that the buttocks are more protruding, you might be less disturbed by that. Regarding the armrest, we have another problem, is that width is not a problem. I can bring the width to my skinny width. So no problem in terms of width. The problem is in terms of height. At the minimum, which is this, it's too high for me. I'm here, I'm raising my shoulder. So the minimum height of the armrest is too high, which means that I have to get rid of the armrest to work relaxed. And finally, moving to the headrest, well, once it's adjusted once, you should be okay with it. So, it's fairly adjustable, not as adjustable as on my Kinnards chair, but honestly, it's fairly adjustable. And that thing of going back, well, it's a bit annoying when you're trying to adjust it, but once it's adjusted once, you shouldn't have to move it anymore. So this is less dramatic than this thing, which is again moving up. You see, this is a bit more problematic. One more thing. You see, in the package, there was this big piece of plastic. And you know, when I see the efforts made by companies like Logitech, like Contour and others to avoid plastic packaging, I was a bit shocked by that. So I asked Flexispot, okay, tell me more about your environmental policy. And their answer was, well, users can dispose them as they wish. This is not corporate social responsibility. Companies have a responsibility to minimize plastic waste, not to rely on users to kind of dispose things that are non-recyclable. So this is, in my opinion, something that really needs to be improved, because people like me are clearly going to privilege and already privilege companies that are environmentally sensible. So all in all, who is this chair good for? This chair is not for short people, it's for medium to tall people. And it is for people who are willing to, test a new type of philosophy regarding the lumbar support, which honestly creates a bit of issues with me, because, its instability promotes some kind of static working style, which is the opposite of what we're trying to do. So if you're willing to take a bet on that, and if you have a rather protruding buttocks, I think, yeah, you may want to consider the chair, which is full of positive things next to that. Hence, my conclusion is I'm going to keep this chair because, there are a lot of things I like it. But I'm not going to use it as my main chair because I'm quite disturbed by that unstable and excessively protruding lumbar support.